Chosen one, stop. Not in a minute. Not after you finish scrolling. Not when the noise dies down. Stop now, before your eyes drift, before the world pulls you back into its current, before you automatically return to performing strength like you always do. Take a breath. A real one. The kind that feels unfamiliar because you rarely allow yourself to be still long enough to notice your own body. Inhale slowly. Let it expand your chest. Let it push against the armor you have been wearing without realizing it. Hold it for a second and release it. Did you feel that? That slight shift, that quiet widening inside you. Nothing around you changed. The room did not transform. The circumstances did not rearrange themselves. But something in you moved. That was not random. For weeks, maybe months, you have been moving forward without actually arriving anywhere internally. You have been doing what needed to be done, showing up, responding, managing, surviving, carrying things that were never meant to be carried alone, and you have done it quietly. That quiet strength has become your identity. People depend on it. They rely on your steadiness. They lean on your ability to absorb pressure without collapsing. But here is what no one sees: the cost. You have been running on discipline where you needed rest, on responsibility where you needed reassurance, on composure where you needed to exhale. And slowly, without drama, something inside you began to tighten, not break. Tighten. Your laughter became lighter, your patience shorter, your tolerance thinner, not because you became weaker, but because you became aware. Aware that you cannot keep being the version of yourself that survives everything without processing anything. Chosen one, this is not exhaustion from doing too much. This is the friction of transformation. The reason everything feels slightly misaligned lately is not because you are lost. It is because you are shedding. The environments that once energized you now drain you. The conversations that once felt easy now feel expensive. The dynamics you once tolerated now feel like sand in your spirit. You tried to ignore it at first. You told yourself you were just tired. But tiredness passes. This has not. Because this is not fatigue. It is awakening. You are waking up to the ways you have minimized yourself to maintain peace. You are waking up to how often you volunteered to carry emotional weight that was not assigned to you. You are waking up to the difference between being needed and being valued. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. That awareness feels lonely at first, because growth does not announce itself with applause. It arrives with separation. You begin noticing the gap between what you say and what you feel, between what you allow and what you actually deserve, between who you have been and who you are quietly becoming. And in that gap, there is tension. That tension is holy. It is the space between identities. Do not rush through it. The world will try to make you uncomfortable enough to return to your previous version. It prefers predictability. It prefers the version of you it understands. The one who absorbs tension instead of redirecting it. The one who over-explains instead of simply standing firm. But something in you is done performing stability at the expense of truth. That is why you feel the shift. You are not breaking. You are recalibrating. And the breath you just took? That was the first conscious act of stepping into who you are becoming. Stay here. Do not scroll away from this moment, because this is the doorway. The separation is not rejection. It is formation. Chosen one. There is something you have been misinterpreting. The distance, the silence, the subtle pulling away you have felt from certain people, spaces, conversations. You assumed something was wrong. You wondered if you had become too serious, too sensitive, too distant, too difficult. You questioned yourself before you questioned the shift. But let me reframe what is happening. You are not being pushed out. You are being set apart. There is a difference. Rejection wounds your identity. separation strengthens it. You are in a season where old dynamics cannot survive your growth, not because they are evil, not because you are superior, but because they were built around a version of you that no longer exists. There were people who knew you when you were still negotiating your worth, when you apologized for boundaries, when you confused intensity with connection, when you mistook chaos for passion. They built their access to you around that version. And now you are changing. Your nervous system is calmer, your responses are slower, your words are fewer, your reactions are measured. You no longer rush to prove. You no longer scramble to fix. You no longer volunteer for emotional labor that drains you for days. And that shift unsettles those who benefited from the old pattern. Not because they are malicious, but because comfort resists change. You can feel it in conversations now. The subtle testing. The old jokes meant to trigger the previous version of you. The familiar pressure to overextend, to overexplain, to re-enter roles you have quietly retired from. And sometimes you feel the pull, that internal heat, that urge to respond the way you used to match tone, to defend yourself, to reclaim control through reaction. But you have stopped yourself more times than you realize. You have typed messages and deleted them, started arguments in your head and dissolved them before they reached your mouth. Chosen silence when chaos invited you in. That is not weakness. That is mastery under construction. The enemy of your growth does not need to destroy you. It only needs to provoke you back into your former self. And you have refused. Every time you did not react from a wound, a cycle weakened. Every time you did not chase validation, a chain loosened. Every time you allowed misunderstanding instead of self-betrayal, a foundation strengthened. You think nothing happened in those moments, but everything happened. Transformation rarely looks dramatic. It looks like restraint. It looks like choosing dignity over volume. It looks like outgrowing rooms without announcing your departure. Yes, it feels lonely, because you are becoming unfamiliar to those who only knew your survival version. But loneliness in growth is temporary. Self-abandonment is permanent. And you are done abandoning yourself. That is why this separation feels intense. It is not punishment. It is protection. You are being formed in quiet ways that cannot withstand constant interruption. Do not mistake solitude for absence of support. Some structures are built underground before they ever rise into view. And right now, the construction is deep. The grief you carry is not a failure. It is evidence of depth. Chosen one. There is something you have not fully admitted. You are grieving, not dramatically, not publicly, but steadily. It is not necessarily a person. It might be the version of a relationship you believed would evolve, the version of a future you imagined unfolding differently, the version of yourself you thought would arrive sooner. You do not cry about it every day. You function. You show up. You keep producing, responding, planning. But beneath the competence, there is an ache. And because you are strong, you have treated that ache like something to manage instead of something to honor. Listen carefully. Unprocessed grief does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes cynicism, distance, quiet resentment, emotional numbness disguised as maturity. And that is not your destiny. The reason this season feels quieter is because you are being invited to feel without performing, to sit without solving, to acknowledge the mark without rushing to turn it into a lesson. You have survived so much by turning pain into productivity, by converting heartbreak into discipline, by channeling disappointment into achievement. That strategy built resilience, but it also built armor. And armor is heavy. You are allowed to admit that something left a mark. You are allowed to rest from being impressive. You are allowed to say internally, if nowhere else, that hurt. Not as weakness, as honesty. Because here is the truth. Your sensitivity is not your liability. It is your capacity. The depth that caused you pain is the same depth that will allow you to build something meaningful, sustainable, and real. Do not numb it. Stabilize it. Let yourself process what ended without rewriting history to make it smaller. Some endings are sacred because they force evolution. But evolution does not mean you skip mourning. It means you mourn forward. And as you do, something extraordinary is happening. Your reactions are slowing. Your words are weighing more. Your presence is deepening. You are no longer speaking to fill silence. You are speaking to shape atmosphere. That is calibration. You are being refined, not erased. And what feels like quiet loss is actually internal restructuring. The grief is not a sign that you failed. It is proof that you loved, hoped, believed deeply. Do not be ashamed of that. Depth always risks pain, but it also builds greatness. What is coming requires the version of you that is being built now, chosen one. You have been waiting, not loudly, not impatiently, but faithfully. You have wondered if the silence meant delay, if the stillness meant denial, if the lack of visible progress meant something stalled. It did not. Construction is loud at first, then invisible, then suddenly undeniable. You are in the invisible stage. Foundations do not get applause, but without them, height collapses. What is being built for you is larger than the version you originally imagined. That is why it required deeper excavation. Some relationships had to fall back. Some habits had to die quietly. Some impulses had to be retrained. Because what is next cannot be sustained by who you used to be. There is clarity coming. Decisions that once felt heavy will feel obvious. Conversations that once intimidated you will feel simple. Opportunities that once felt unreachable will feel aligned. Not because the world changed, because you did. And here is what you must carry with you. Your silence is not weakness. It is architecture. Your patience is not passivity. It is power restrained with wisdom. Your boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. Your grief is not regression. It is refinement. You are not behind. You are being prepared. And preparation is sacred. There is a rest coming, not inactivity, but internal peace. The kind where you stop fighting yourself. The kind where your outer life matches your inner alignment. You are closer than you think. This heavy, quiet, in-between chapter is not the end of your story. It is the inhale before the next movement. Do not rush it. Do not sabotage it by returning to old reactions just to feel familiar again. Stand in the version of yourself that is emerging. Even if no one claps yet. Even if no one understands yet. Even if you are the only one who feels the shift. Because soon, what has been built in silence will stand in visibility. And when it does, you will recognize why the separation was necessary, why the quiet mattered, why the waiting was not wasted. Stay steady. The next chapter is not just different, it is aligned, and you are ready.